More than 107,000 insurance claims arising from the floods in Queensland and New South Wales have been lodged to date. Joining me live now is the Executive Chairman of Yellow Brick Road Home Loans, Mark Bouris. Mark, so how high does this go eventually, and does it scoop up everybody?
Well, there's an estimation of $3 billion worth of claims to be made in the next short period, which you've already alluded to. And there is further estimates that have been put out by Jardines that are saying that there is an expectation of increase in insurance premiums to go up by a 10% across the board. So that doesn't mean, by the way, specifically in places like maybe Mullumbimby or those sorts of areas, you might get extraordinary increases. But if you look across the board, they're predicting a 10% increase in insurance premiums. Bear in mind, we already had a 7.5% increase this time last year. And also, the other thing that's really important to understand is that every single mortgage holder in the country must have building insurance as a precondition of their mortgage being kept alive. So every lender, including me, we make sure that you have a building insurance contract. You must have one. So a 10% increase, you're not going to be able to avoid it.
10% plus 7%. I mean, that's a very big jump over 2 years, isn't it?
Totally. It's 18%. And it's, by the way, it's 10% on the 7.5%. So it's actually compounding. So it's more than 17.5%. It's 10% on the 7.5% as well. So it's another 1.7%. So it's a big jump. It's a lot. It's a very high. Insurance premiums are ridiculously high.
Well, and that only just feeds into this current debate about cost of living. Treasurer is going to have to deal with that and is dealing with it in the lead up to his budget, which comes out in less than 2 weeks now. He's already said that higher rates have been factored in. Banks are doing that. We've spoken about this a few times, Mark, and you'd always thought that November was about the time when rates would probably go up. Are you still of that mindset, or do you think it might be brought forward now?
Well, maybe it will be brought forward because there seems to be a whole lot of new things that have happened in the last couple of weeks. I mean, like the price of oil and gas is now being the increase in it has now been exacerbated by the war in Ukraine, of course. And there's just so much going on in the world, and just generally with what's happened up in northern New South Wales and the west of Sydney. We're going to have supply chain problems now for those environments. Those environments, they have to rebuild. They're going to suck up all the timber. They're going to suck up all the tradespeople. So there's going to be extra inflationary pressures from those environments, west of Sydney and up in northern New South Wales. So my gut feeling is the recent events, our climate events, and also the war in Europe, they're probably going to fast forward this stuff. I would expect it to bring it forward. The money market saying August, maybe June. And, you know, what's interesting is the Treasurer last weekend also said he's sort of conceding a 1% increase over the next 12 months and a further increase in the 12 months after that by another 1%, which is like a 2% increase overall over the next 18 months. What they're saying is if we get a 2% increase in mortgage rates from now to 18 months' time, that on an average purchase of a property in this country of 1.1 million, which is an average purchase price, interest rates, or the repayments, I should say, is going to increase over that period by 30% or 29% to be more accurate, but let's say 30%. A 30% increase from today.
Wow. That's
a huge increase in the repayment schedule. So that is just going to put so much pressure on everybody. And no doubt the Treasurer's onto it. And that's probably the reason why, whilst auction clearance rates are pretty good, it's probably the reason why house prices, dwelling prices have not increased, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne, where their more expensive properties are. They're not increasing. They're very modest increases over the last week, the last month, and the last 3 months, according to CoreLogic.
Okay, well, interesting to see what happens there in a few months' time. What happens to people's mortgages? What happens to the amount of sales? Maybe that'll increase too as people try and move on. But anyway, Mark, good to chat as always.
Maybe.
We'll pick this up next week, get a bit more on that.